Let me ask you something. Think about the last time you worked really hard for something: a promotion, a degree, a fitness goal, a relationship milestone, something you chased for months, maybe years. Now think about how you felt the moment you actually got it. If you're being honest, it probably felt a little flat, right? Not bad, not nothing, but not the fireworks you imagined, not the soul shaking joy you were promised when you finally crossed the finish line. Now contrast that with the last time something genuinely surprised you: a friend showing up at your door unexpectedly, a random text from someone you'd been thinking about, an envelope in the mail that turned out to be something wonderful, a stranger paying for your coffee. You didn't see it coming, you didn't work for it, you didn't plan it, and somehow it hit different. Today, we're going to find out why, and the answer is going to change the way you think about happiness, success, and what you're actually chasing in your life. Section 1: The Happiness Equation. We were all sold. We grow up believing in a very specific equation. It goes like this: work hard leads to achieve the goal, leads to feel happy. Simple, clean, American as apple pie. We put it on motivational posters. We put it in graduation speeches. We put it in Instagram captions with a sunset and a quote from someone who may or may not have actually said it. And look, that equation isn't entirely wrong. Achieving things does feel good. But here's the problem: it doesn't feel as good as we think it will. And it doesn't feel good for as long as we expect it to. Psychologists have a name for this. It's called the impact bias, and it's one of the most reliably documented quirks of the human brain. The impact bias is our brain's tendency to overestimate how intensely and how long we'll feel good after something positive happens to us. We think getting that job will make us happy for months. We think hitting that number on the scale will change everything. We think buying that house will finally make us feel like we've made it. And then we get there. And a few weeks later, we're already thinking about the next thing. Psychologist Dan Gilbert at Harvard, one of the foremost researchers on happiness, calls this a synthetic happiness trap. We build up these mental futures so detailed, so emotionally rich, that the real thing can't possibly compete. But surprises? Surprises don't have that problem. You can't build up expectations for something you don't see coming. Section 2: Your Brain on Surprises, the Neuroscience. Let's get into the actual science here, because this is where it gets fascinating. When your brain anticipates a reward, when you're working towards something you know is coming, your dopamine system activates. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter we associate with motivation and pleasure. You get a hit of it when you're pursuing the goal, and then you get another hit when you reach it. But here's the twist that most people don't know. According to neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz's landmark research, your brain's dopamine neurons fire most intensely not when you receive an expected reward, but when something good happens unexpectedly. Read that again. Your brain releases more dopamine, the feel-good chemical, in response to unexpected positive events than to events you planned and worked for. Why? Because your brain is, at its core, a prediction machine. Its whole job is to model the world and anticipate what happens next. When reality matches the prediction, it's business as usual. When reality exceeds the prediction, when something wonderful happens that you weren't expecting, your brain treats that as a massive signal. It floods your system with dopamine in a way that planned rewards simply can't match. This is sometimes called the dopamine prediction error response, and it explains a lot about why humans are wired the way we are. It's also why gambling is so addictive, why social media notifications are so hard to ignore, why slot machines keep you glued to the screen. They're all exploiting this exact mechanism, the surprise reward loop. But here's the thing: we can use this knowledge for us, not against us. Section 3: The Research That Will Make You Rethink Everything. Let me walk you through a few studies that genuinely blew my mind when I first read them. Study 1: The Lollipop Experiment. Researchers gave people lollipops in two different scenarios. In one scenario, people were told in advance they were getting a lollipop. In the other, the lollipop showed up out of nowhere. Same lollipop, same flavor, same sugar, different experience. People who received the surprise lollipop rated the experience as significantly more enjoyable. They also reported feeling more positive emotions overall, not just about the candy, but about the day in general. The point: a small, unexpected positive experience can color your whole emotional state in a way that a planned, expected, positive experience simply can't. Study 2: Surprise gifts versus wanted gifts. In another study, participants received gifts. Some received gifts they had explicitly asked for and things on their wish list. Others received gifts that were total surprises, chosen thoughtfully but not requested. You'd think the wanted gifts would win. Nope. The surprise gifts generated more emotional response, more gratitude, and were actually remembered more vividly months later. The researchers concluded that unexpectedness creates what they called an emotional amplification effect. It turns up the volume on how we process positive experiences. Study 3: The Happiness Diary. This is my favorite one. Researchers asked participants to keep a daily happiness diary for several weeks. At the end of the study, they looked at which types of events people rated as their happiest. Big planned milestones showed up, sure, but the list was dominated by small, unexpected moments: a surprise compliment, an unplanned conversation that turned into a 2-hour connection, a random afternoon that turned into an adventure, a song that came on at exactly the right moment. The researchers noted that these surprise moments often had an outsized emotional return relative to their actual scale. A tiny, unexpected good thing could compete emotionally with a major planned achievement. Section 4: Why success doesn't satisfy the way we think. Let's go deeper into why success specifically tends to underdeliver. There's a concept called hedonic adaptation, sometimes called the hedonic treadmill. Here's the basic idea: humans are remarkably good at adapting to new circumstances. We return to a relatively stable emotional baseline faster than we expect to, regardless of what happens to us. Win the lottery? Within a year, studies show lottery winners report roughly the same levels of happiness as before they won. Get your dream job? Within months, it becomes just your job. Move to your dream city. Eventually, it's just where you live. This isn't pessimism. This is survival wiring. Your brain has to be able to function in whatever circumstances it finds itself in. If it stayed permanently elated after every win, you'd never be motivated to do anything again. But here's how this connects to surprises. Hedonic adaptation relies on predictability. We adapt to things we understand, things we can categorize and normalize. But surprises, especially ongoing, varied, unpredictable positive experiences, are much harder to adapt to. Psychologist Sonia Lyubomirsky and colleagues found that one of the most reliable ways to sustain happiness is through variety and unpredictability in positive experiences. Not one big win, not a planned vacation, but a lifestyle rich in small, varied, unexpected good things. This is why long-term relationships can feel stale when they become purely predictable, and why injecting novelty and surprise into a relationship is one of the most evidence-backed ways to increase satisfaction. This is why the same commute you could do in your sleep feels miserable. But if you take a random new route and discover a great coffee shop you didn't know existed, your whole morning shifts. Your brain craves positive uncertainty, and most of us are starving it. Section 5: The Paradox of Planning. Now, here's where it gets philosophically interesting, because I'm not here to tell you to stop setting goals. Goals matter, ambition matters, achievement matters. But there's a real paradox at the heart of how we pursue happiness. The more tightly we plan and control our lives in pursuit of a specific outcome, the more we squeeze out the conditions that make us feel most alive. Think about the best memories of your life, the stories you tell over and over, the moments that still make you light up decades later. Were most of them meticulously planned, or did they tend to have an element of spontaneity, of things not going quite as expected and turning into something better, of being present to something you didn't see coming? I'm willing to bet it's mostly the latter. Psychologist Jonathan Schooler coined the term reminiscence bump for how we remember our lives. and consistent with everything we've talked about. Emotionally novel and unexpected experiences are disproportionately represented in our most treasured memories. We don't remember the Tuesday we completed the task. We remember the Tuesday that turned into something unexpected. This suggests something a little uncomfortable, that the very planning and controlling that we use to pursue success may be working against our happiness. Not because success is bad, but because in obsessively optimizing for the expected outcome, we lose our capacity for wonder. We lose our peripheral vision for joy. Section 6, how to actually use this in your life. Okay, so what do we do with all of this? I want to give you some concrete, science backed ways to engineer more surprise into your life without being weird about it. 1. The new route. Rule. At least once a week, do something routine differently. Different coffee shop, different podcast, different way to work, different workout. You're not looking for a grand adventure, and you're just giving your brain a small pattern interrupt. Small surprises compound. 2. Say yes to open ended invitations. We're going somewhere, just come. I want to show you something. Clear your Saturday. Most of us instinctively resist these because we can't control or predict them. Start leaning in. Some of your best stories are waiting behind your next unscheduled yes. 3. Surprise someone else. Here's a counterintuitive one. One of the most reliable ways to experience the emotional boost of surprise is to give it to someone else. Show up unexpectedly. Send a gift for no occasion. Leave a note. Write an email to someone you've been meaning to reach out to for years. Their surprise becomes your joy. 4. Create mystery in your own schedule. Literally block out time on your calendar as unknown. Then fill it day of with whatever sounds right in the moment. You're building in protected space for spontaneity. It sounds paradoxical, but scheduled openness works. 5. Stop over-researching everything. We Yelp everything. We read 200 reviews before choosing a restaurant. We watch 3 YouTube videos before trying a new hobby. The research kills the surprise. Sometimes just go, just try. Let your experience be your review. 6. Revisit neglected relationships. Some of the richest surprises in life come from people, not events. Reconnect with someone unexpected. Call someone you haven't spoken to in years. You have no idea what people's lives have become, and they have no idea what yours has become. That conversation might surprise you both. Section 7. The bigger picture. Here's what I really want to leave you with. We live in a culture that is obsessed with optimization, with knowing the plan, with controlling outcomes, and I get it. Yeah, that drive has built incredible things. It puts us on the moon, it builds companies, it creates art, but there's a cost. When we optimize every moment for the expected outcome, we forget how to be surprised by life. We forget how to be delighted. We start measuring our lives by whether they match our projections, and they never quite do. Because life is not a spreadsheet. It's not a roadmap. It's not a 5-year plan. The happiest people I've encountered, and the research genuinely reflects this, aren't necessarily the most successful. They're the ones who stayed permeable, curious, open to the possibility that something wonderful might arrive from a direction they didn't anticipate. Success is about closing the gap between where you are and where you plan to be. But surprise is life telling you about a destination you didn't even know existed. And sometimes, a lot of times actually, that destination is better. So, what do you think? Does this line up with your experience? Think back to your own life. I genuinely love to know, what was the last thing that surprised you in a really good way? Drop it in the comments. I read them, every single one. If this video gave you something to think about, share it with someone who's been grinding really hard lately and maybe needs a reminder that happiness doesn't always live at the finish line. And if you want more content about the science of what actually makes us happy, the stuff that's backed by research, not just vibes, subscribe. I've got a lot more of this coming. Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and maybe let yourself be surprised. Don't forget subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications.